Hey everybody, today we've got a four-way matchup for the 2024 presidential election. We've got Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Cornel West. And this is incredibly difficult to fill out. We're still a year away. It's easy to look at a few polls right now, but a lot is going to change over the next 12 months. We don't know what kind of ballot access West and Kennedy would have. We also don't know about the regular Green Party and Libertarian Party, plus no labels. And another candidate could even jump into the race. So it is very preliminary, and I know however I fill out the map, there's always going to be a few comments that don't like the result. Trying to do it as fairly as I can. I do try to consider all the factors, the margins in each state, and of course you do have to look at polling, but then you have to try to project that out next year. It's easier said than done, but after I went through everything, assuming all the candidates competed in all the states, for the national popular vote, I had Joe Biden with about 44.5%, Donald Trump with 40.5%, RFK with about 12%, and Cornel West with about 3%. I know there's been some recent polls out there that show Kennedy with 15, 18% or more. Cornel West is usually at about 4 to 5. I think as the election gets closer, third-party vote does tend to decline. It doesn't mean it's going to happen this time, but that's what I see happening. So I see Kennedy getting in about 12, West about 3. It's going to vary a little bit from state to state. I'm going to go ahead and start filling out the map. I'm going to get all the safe states out of the way. There's not really much to talk about here. States in the Northwest like Washington and Oregon, Biden won them so easily. The margin is going to be reduced there just like across all the other states. That's a state that Cornel West, I think theoretically could pull in maybe 5 or 6%, but it's still going to be double digits and safe for Biden. Colorado, I think, is right at about the 10-point mark, but I did keep it at safe. On the Republican side, a state like Montana, that margin would get closer as well, but I still think it would be over 10 points. Other states that could pull in big third-party vote, possibly Utah or Alaska or Vermont, but even if they do pull in more, I still don't think it's going to be enough to dramatically change the race. South Carolina does get close to a likely margin, but other than that, the map does look pretty much just how we'd expect it. And one other thing to mention, with Kennedy at this point, and this could change, I do think he would pull in a little bit more from Trump this time, probably 2 for every 1 from Biden. West, on the other hand, I think would be the opposite, probably more like 3 Biden voters for every Trump voter. Now, if we go down to the likely states, one change I do have is Alaska. That's going to get down to high single digits. That's a state I think that Kennedy might be able to have more success in, maybe even West as well. All that will condense the margins, but I still think Trump would win it pretty comfortably. For the Democrats, New Mexico, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Virginia, in a state like New Hampshire, it's another state where third-party vote could go up, but I think once everything settles, Biden would still probably carry that by at least 5 points. Nothing changes for the Republicans. We've got Texas, Iowa, Ohio, and Florida. I don't think there's anything too controversial about those calls. Now, if we go down to the lean states, there's actually one of them for each party. The Democrats, they get Michigan. Republicans get North Carolina. Those are 2 states, probably only a 1 to 2 point margin. But even in this 4-way race, I think they're going to pretty much vote in line with how they would have in a 2-way race. And I also don't want to forget the individual congressional districts of Nebraska 2nd. That's going to go leans for Biden. And up in Maine 2nd, that is going to be over 5 likely for Trump. Kennedy could have some appeal here, but I still think it would be over 5 for Trump. So now we've got 5 states left. We've got Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Georgia. And just like in pretty much every map, this is going to be where everything is won or lost. I've said it before, but these states could go either way. A slight breeze would change the race. So these are all going to be tilt margins, and first we're going to knock off Pennsylvania. That is going to go tilt for Biden. I know Democrats will think because they had a great midterm that they're in great position to win in 24. Certainly could be the case. There also could be some complacency. I think it's going to be close, but Biden would still hold it. Now we've got 4 states left. Let's go West Coast to East. First, in Nevada, I think in a 4-way race, and even just in a 2-way race, based on everything I've seen so far, I think Trump would do slightly better than he did in 2020, but I think he would come up just short. I have it going to Biden by a tilt margin. I think Trump would just miss out on the margins he needs in Clark and Washoe to get the job done there. If we go to Arizona, that's a border state. That's a big topic. Maricopa County, that's where all the population is. That is going to be a challenge for Trump to win. In a 4-way race, it might be a little bit more difficult, but at the same time, one other thing to mention about Kennedy and West is I think a lot of their turnout would be disaffected voters. It's not just going to be taking votes away from Biden and Trump. I would think half of their vote would be voters that have never voted before or maybe haven't voted in several elections. So we have to consider that. We do have to consider these national issues of immigration and crime. The economy is huge. Abortion is a key topic. The list goes on and on. The margin was extremely narrow last time. After trying to gauge everything, this is going to go tilt for Trump. Next state, Wisconsin. In the last head-to-head video I did between Trump and Biden, I did have this as tilt for Trump. Now, this is an interesting state. I would think Cornel West could have a little bit more success in Dane County. And with Kennedy, I think there's going to be a good amount of disaffected voters here. But in this state, I think Trump has had some counties that he can expand in a little bit more. Biden is banking on the trends in the suburbs. Given the way things look right now, I would think Trump would do about a half a point to 1 point better. That's going to be enough to flip the state. It's going to go tilt for Trump. So we've got the last state. It's Georgia. And this is where everything is on the line. I really did go back and forth on this state. And there's not a whole lot to add that I haven't said in previous videos. We know the Atlanta suburbs trended hard toward the Democrats. We know Atlanta and Fulton County. That's a big problem for Trump. But there are a lot of deep red counties out there. They're going to be enthusiastic for Trump. So even with Kennedy and West siphoning off a little bit of this vote, eventually, after changing the result a couple of times, I settled on a tilt for Biden. And that means the final total is 282 for Joe Biden, 256 for Donald Trump, and of course 0 for Kennedy and West. So as far as the spoiler factor goes, I think it's too early to say what would actually happen, but as of right now, I kind of think things would even out. Biden does win the popular vote by about 4 points. It kind of translates into most states by him doing about a half a point worse than he did in 2020. But again, that's all preliminary. Depends on how the economy is, what the polling is like, what the other issues are. It depends who's on the ballot, who their running mates are, and what happens with everything surrounding Trump and his legal issues, plus Biden and his health and the debates. There are endless things to factor in, and you could easily come up with a map going in the other direction. So there are minimal changes on this map compared to a two-way head-to-head. But I did look at every state. Kennedy gets about 12, West gets about 3. That's going to go up or down slightly in different states. But one last thing I'll say about Kennedy, he did start out as a Democrat. He's been a Democrat his whole life. Once he had a couple of anti-establishment views, then the Republicans started to embrace him. Since then, his support with Democrats seems to have plummeted, and it's gone up with Republicans. But it remains to be seen how Trump and Biden at this point would posture themselves with Kennedy in the race. Kennedy has been a Democrat his whole life. We've yet to see Trump go after Kennedy. His support could easily go down with Republicans once they hear about his lifetime credentials as a Democrat, but I still think there will be a lot of disaffected voters that are activated to turn out, both for Kennedy and for West. We've got to wait until next year. We've got to see a lot more polling in individual states. Then we can have a better idea of how this would go. But for right now, this is the map that I settled on. So let me know in the comments, what do you have happening in this four-way race? Do you think it's as simple as Kennedy just pulling away a lot of votes from Trump and he loses? Or do you think there's more to it? Maybe Biden's support is not as strong as it was in 2020. Maybe Cornel West is the deciding factor. Maybe you see Kennedy's support plummeting as we get into next year. Maybe you see it going up and he starts pulling in 20% of the vote. Let me know what you think down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.